It is the dead of night, and you are lying perfectly still in a room so quiet you can almost hear the blood rushing through your own carotid arteries, yet instead of drifting into a peaceful slumber, you feel a mounting sense of existential dread and physical alertness. For the modern sleeper, absolute silence is rarely the sanctuary we imagine it to be. Instead, it often functions as a high-frequency stage where every tiny, stray sound, the house settling, a distant car door, the hum of a refrigerator, is amplified into a catastrophic intrusion. This is the great paradox of the bedroom. We crave quiet to escape the chaos of the day, yet when we finally achieve it, our brains treat that silence not as a gift, but as a threat. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes perfect sense, as our ancestors never experienced total silence in nature unless a predator was nearby and every other creature had gone deathly still in fear. In the wild, a background of wind, crickets, and rustling leaves provided a safety signal that the environment was normal. Silence was the sound of an impending attack. Today, when you switch off the last light and the world goes mute, your amygdala, that ancient security guard we've discussed before here at Thinking 2.0, goes into high alert mode, scanning the void for the slightest deviation. You aren't just not sleeping, you are a biological system experiencing a sensory vacuum, and your brain is frantically trying to fill that vacuum with meaning, turning a settling floorboard into a potential home intruder. This heightened state of hypervigilance is the first reason why total silence is the enemy of rest. Your brain simply refuses to let its guard down when there is no ambient, okay signal to reassure it that the world is still turning as it should. Beyond the evolutionary fear of the quiet, there is a much more immediate psychological battle happening when the lights go out, the sudden, overwhelming volume of your own internal monologue. When the external world provides no data for the brain to process, it turns inward with a vengeance, activating the default mode network, a web of brain regions that kick into gear when we aren't focused on an external task. In the absence of a hum from a fan or the rhythmic patter of rain, the silence acts as an acoustic mirror, reflecting every unresolved anxiety, every cringeworthy memory from 5 years ago, and every item on tomorrow's daunting to-do list with crystal clarity. This is what we call cognitive overcrowding, where the brain, lacking any camouflage noise to distract it, begins to obsess over its own thoughts in a high-speed loop. Background noise, whether it's the static of a white noise machine or the low drone of a city street, provides a subtle anchor for the wandering mind, a low-level sensory input that occupies just enough of our processing power to prevent us from spiraling into a deep dive of existential worry. Without that anchor, you are essentially trapped in a sensory deprivation tank with your own worst critic, and as any chronic overthinker knows, that critic is loudest when the room is quietest. By introducing a steady, predictable stream of sound, you are effectively masking the internal noise of your thoughts, creating a psychological buffer that allows your conscious mind to finally release its grip and descend into the unconsciousness of sleep. The third layer of this mystery is purely neurological and revolves around a concept known as the signal-to-noise ratio. Most people believe that noises wake them up at night, a barking dog, a slamming door, or a creaky floor, but in reality, it isn't the noise itself that wakes you, it's the sudden change in sound levels that triggers the brain's startle response. If you are sleeping in a room that is 0 decibels, a floorboard creak that registers at 10 decibels represents an infinite increase in sound, hitting your auditory cortex like a physical blow and jerking you into a state of cortisol-fueled alertness. However, if you have a fan running at 40 decibels, that same 10 decibel creak is completely swallowed by the background hum. The delta, or the change in sound level, is non-existent, and your brain ignores the signal as irrelevant data. This is the science of sound masking, a tactical maneuver where you intentionally raise the floor of the room's noise level to decrease the impact of sudden spikes. It's the difference between a single candle in a pitch-black room and a candle in a brightly lit office. In the dark, the flame is blinding, but in the light, it is invisible. By using background noise, you are essentially creating a protective, acoustic blanket that smooths out the peaks and valleys of the night soundtrack, ensuring that your brain isn't constantly being forced to evaluate whether every tiny pop and hiss is a threat to your survival. To understand why we choose specific sounds, we have to look at the colors of noise, white, pink, and brown, and how they interact with our unique neural architecture. White noise is the most famous, containing all audible frequencies played at equal intensity, sounding like the hiss of a radio between stations or a rushing waterfall. While effective, many people find white noise too harsh because our ears are biologically more sensitive to high frequencies, which is where pink noise comes in. Pink noise decreases the power of higher frequencies, creating a deeper, more balanced sound that mimics the natural complexity of wind, steady rain, or the rustle of leaves. Studies have shown that the rhythmic, naturalistic qualities of pink noise can actually synchronize brain waves and improve the quality of deep sleep. Then there is brown noise, which drops the high frequencies even further, resulting in a low-pitched, bass-heavy rumble reminiscent of a distant thunderstorm or the deep hum of a jet engine. This deep frequency is particularly effective for people with ADHD or highly active, racy minds, as the low-end vibrations seem to provide a more grounding, physical sensation of safety that hugs the brain into submission. Your preference for one over the other isn't just a matter of taste, it's a reflection of how your specific brain filters information and which frequency range is most effective at neutralizing your internal signal. This dependency on noise often stretches all the way back to our very first experiences of existence, the 9 months spent in the womb. Contrary to the popular image of a quiet, peaceful sanctuary, the womb is a surprisingly loud environment, reaching decibel levels similar to a vacuum cleaner due to the constant whooshing of blood flow through the mother's arteries and the rhythmic beating of her heart. We are literally born into noise, and for many of us, a completely silent room feels fundamentally unnatural and alien to our core biological expectations. This creates a powerful, Pavlovian, habituation loop. If you grew up in a house with a loud heater, lived in a busy city, or slept with a fan on every night, your brain has categorized that specific drone as the sound of safety. Over time, your brain has developed a biochemical dependency on this noise to trigger the release of melatonin and the slowing of your heart rate. When you take that noise away, you are essentially depriving your brain of its primary cue for powering down, leading to a state of confusion and resistance. What you call a bad night's sleep is often just a brain that is waiting for a signal that never arrives, standing guard in the silence like a soldier waiting for a password that has been forgotten. So, where does that leave us in our quest for the perfect night's rest? Are we doomed to be hostages to our fans and white noise machines forever? As we always aim to uncover here at Thinking 2.0, the goal isn't necessarily to force yourself into a silent room as a test of discipline, but to understand that your need for noise is a sophisticated management of your own biological and psychological boundaries. If you find that you cannot sleep without a specific sound, it isn't a sign of weakness, it is a sign that you have optimized your environment to handle the noise of your own mind and the unpredictability of the world. However, true mastery comes from awareness, knowing that you are using these sounds as a tool to navigate the signal-to-noise ratio of your life. Try experimenting with different colors of noise to see which one truly grounds you, or even try the sound weaning hack by slowly lowering the volume over several weeks to see where your threshold of hypervigilance actually begins. Your value as a sleeper is not measured by your ability to tolerate silence, but by your ability to create a space where your brain feels safe enough to let go. Protect your rest, be kind to your overactive amygdala, and remember that sometimes, the loudest thing in the world is the silence we haven't learned to fill. If this deep dive into the acoustics of the night hit home for you, subscribe to Thinking 2.0, we're here to help you deconstruct the hidden mechanics of your daily life so you can finally stop fighting your instincts and start working with them. Leave a comment below. Are you a total silence purist, or is there a specific sound you absolutely cannot sleep without? Let's talk about the secret soundtrack of our lives. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.